I don't know, this is something that I actually have to step back and kind of like try to find a solution because I'm so tired.
Something happened over the last 2 weeks that tennis was not supposed to let happen in public, and by the time anyone realized what it meant, it was already too late to walk back. So let's start with the question nobody in the press room wanted to ask out loud. Why would the world's #1 player, a 2-time major champion in the middle of her prime, quietly ask her own fans to go complain to her sponsor on her behalf? Why would Nike, one of the most calculated marketing machines on the planet, choose that exact 48-hour window to hand its biggest campaign of the year to a 21-year-old ranked 20th in the world? And why did almost nobody outside of tennis Twitter notice that this wasn't really about a dress at all? It was about a company quietly rewriting who gets to be a star, and doing it right in front of the person it used to belong to. Because here's the part that makes this so uncomfortable. Aryna Sabalenka didn't lose a match to trigger this. She didn't lose her ranking. She showed up, she did everything right, she won the biggest hard-court titles of the season, and none of it mattered, because somewhere behind closed doors, a decision had already been made that had nothing to do with her win column. Rewind 2 weeks. Sabalenka steps out in her new US Open kit, an orange top layered under a black mesh overlay, and within hours, her own fanbase turns on it. Not lukewarm reactions. Open revolt. Comment sections calling it the worst design of the year. People publicly tagging Wilson, a rival brand, begging them to swoop in and rescue her image. That's already strange. That's a top-ranked athlete getting dragged by her own supporters over her own sponsor's work. But strange becomes something else entirely when you notice the timing, because in that exact same window, across the same platform under the same swoosh, Nike dropped something completely different: a royal blue dress with basketball-inspired mesh detailing, retailing at $140, fronted not by the #1 player in the world, but by Alex Eala, a rising Filipina star who wasn't even supposed to be the story of the summer. And the internet did what the internet does. It compared. Side by side. One dress mocked into oblivion, the other praised as the freshest thing Nike had put out all year. Two athletes. Same sponsor. Same season. Completely different receptions. That's when people started asking the question that should have been obvious from the start: why her, why now? Why would Nike take its biggest release of the year and place it on someone who has never won a major, who sits outside the top 10, who most casual fans couldn't have picked out of a lineup 6 months ago? To understand that, you have to go back further than anyone in that comment section bothered to. Because Eala has been a Nike athlete since 2019. Not a rookie deal. Not a trial run. 7 years. She signed with them at 14 years old, which means this wasn't a marketing pivot, it was a bet Nike placed on a teenager and quietly let ride for the better part of a decade. Compare that to Sabalenka, who, according to reporting from last year, waited more than 600 days as the reigning world #1 before Nike gave her a single custom kit of her own. Read that again. 600 days at the top of the sport, and the brand treated her like she was still auditioning. That gap, the 7 years versus the 600 days, is the real story hiding underneath the dress controversy, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So naturally, the pressure found its way to a microphone, and Sabalenka said the quiet part out loud. Asked directly about Nike's creative treatment of other athletes, she admitted on record that she wished Nike would let her do the same kind of thing, and then added, almost resigned, that next season probably wasn't going to be anything special either. Sit with that for a second. That's not a rival taking a shot at her. That's the most dominant player in the sport, in her own words, admitting she envies what a 20-year-old is getting handed. When the person at the top of the mountain tells you she wishes she had what the person climbing it already has, you don't need anyone else to explain who's actually winning this particular fight. And Nike's answer to all of that outrage: they didn't quiet things down. They leaned in harder. IGA appeared in Nike's official campaign wearing that same royal blue dress, then teased a second-look, a mint green version, on her own account days later. 2 coordinated reveals. Full campaign machinery. Meanwhile, the #1 seed got nothing resembling that kind of rollout. But here's the twist that actually broke tennis forums wide open. The detail most headlines missed entirely: that royal blue dress isn't even a custom design. It's a generic release. Other Nike athletes will wear the exact same silhouette at Flushing Meadows. which means Nike didn't just give their rising star a unique piece, they took a mass-market product and handed her the face of it for the entire planet. That's not a courtesy gift. That's a company looking at its global numbers and deciding whose face sells more units worldwide. And once you understand that Nike made this decision as a business calculation and not a sentimental one, the whole story shifts into something much bigger than a dress. Now rewind again, because this didn't start 2 weeks ago, it started at Wimbledon months earlier, when Aryna walked onto center court wearing a small hair accessory shaped like the sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines. Nike designed that piece specifically for her as a tribute to where she's from. Read the layers here. Sabalenka is fighting publicly just to get a custom kit acknowledging her as the top player in the world. Aryna already has custom accessories built around her heritage. Those two athletes are not being treated by the same tier of relationship with this brand, and the gap between them isn't closing, it's widening in full public view. And once the pattern is out there, you start noticing it everywhere. Yahoo ran a piece specifically about the backlash to Sabalenka's kit. Sportskeeda ran their own version of the same story. Creators on TikTok started stitching the two reveals together, side by side, one dress being praised in the same video where the other gets roasted. Same sponsor, same season, opposite reactions, playing out in real time across every platform simultaneously. If this were only happening on social media, you could write it off as noise, fans being fans, algorithms rewarding outrage. But it isn't only happening on social media. In March of this year, months before any of this dress controversy existed, Forbes published a feature calling Aryna tennis's next potential global trailblazer. Forbes doesn't run headlines like that on a whim, and it definitely doesn't run them on a player ranked in the 20s without a reason. That's not a fan opinion. That's a business publication reading market signals months ahead of the general public, and reaching the exact same conclusion Nike's marketing team apparently reached on their own. Now stack one more name onto this. Tony Nadal, Hall of Fame coach, the man who helped build his nephew Rafael Nadal into one of the greatest champions the sport has ever produced, has quietly brought Aryna into his inner circle. When she won her title in Washington, his public congratulations weren't the kind of words you use to describe a promising student. They were the kind of words you use to describe someone you believe is going to carry something forward. Forbes made the business case. Tony Nadal made the tennis case. And Nike just closed the loop between both of them with a $140 dress that the entire internet is currently arguing about. So what does this actually mean underneath all the noise? For 3 decades, tennis marketing has followed one rule without exception. The ranking decides who fronts the campaign. Serena did it because she was Serena. Sharapova did it. Osaka did it. Goff is doing it now. The number at the top of the WTA rankings has always been the deciding factor in who gets the spotlight. That rule just broke, quietly, in the span of a single dress release, and almost nobody clocked it in real time. Nike choosing a 20-year-old ranked 20th over the reigning world number 1 isn't an accident or an oversight, it's a signal that global reach has started to outweigh ranking as the currency that actually matters to the sport's biggest sponsor. Southeast Asia is a market tennis has historically ignored almost entirely, and Aryna's engagement numbers in that region reportedly reach 6 figures per post, with entire time zones effectively pausing when she plays. Nike ran those numbers. And the numbers pointed somewhere the sport has never really looked before. Here's where it gets even more interesting, because the story isn't over, it's about to collide with itself in real time. Both women were scheduled to walk into Arthur Ashe Stadium on August 24th wearing kits that told 2 completely different stories about where this brand's priorities now sit, and the crowd reaction that day became the first real-world referendum on whether Nike's bet actually pays off. After that comes the swing through Asia, the China Open in Beijing, the Wuhan Open, landing Aryna directly in the exact region Nike just staked its biggest campaign of the year on. This isn't a one-week controversy that fades by next month. This is a rollout with a schedule, and every stop on it is another test of whether the brand's read on the market was correct. But here's the part that actually humanizes this whole thing, the twist that flips the entire narrative on its head one more time. Aryna is not some flawless chosen one gliding through this without a scratch. On August 15th in Cincinnati, she lost in straight sets across 3 tight ones to world number 10 Amanda Anisimova, snapping a 5-match run against top-tier opponents and stalling her ranking climb right before the tournament that mattered most. That's a real setback at the worst possible moment. And what did she do with it? She didn't post a defense. She didn't vent to her fanbase. Days later, she simply showed up in Nike's official campaign video, wearing the dress, doing exactly the job she'd been asked to do. No public complaint, no drama, just quiet execution. Compare the response times. Sabalenka waited over 600 days for recognition and still ended up publicly wishing for more. Eala took less than a week to turn a loss into brand loyalty without saying a single word about it. One flower-shaped hair tie on center court. One generic dress turned into a global centerpiece because of whose face was attached to it. One Forbes headline written months before anyone else caught on. One Hall of Fame coach's congratulations that sounded less like praise and more like a passing of the torch. None of these things happened in isolation, and none of them were accidents. Nike didn't snub its reigning number 1 out of spite. It replaced the entire metric it used to decide who gets to be the face of the sport, and it did it in full view of everyone paying close enough attention to notice, which, until 2 weeks ago, almost nobody was. Now the ranking says one thing. The market is already saying something else. And whichever one turns out to be right isn't going to be decided in a boardroom anymore. It's going to be decided the next time both of them walk out onto a court wearing the same swoosh and completely different futures.